This guy was attacked by a 2,500 kilogram rhino.
And I've got a rhino with a massive horn on the front of him chasing me, and there was nowhere to go. He has the ability to run at 40 kilometers an hour, and he's got a sharp thing on the front of him. So when he gets going, you don't want to be in the way of that.
Richard is a safari guide and a wildlife photographer who has spent years and years around animals.
My journey began 15 years ago, where I left the corporate world to follow a passion as a safari guide. Again, I've spent years and years and years around these animals, and white rhino specifically, and this was a white rhino that weighs in the region of over 2,000 kilograms, so 2 tons plus. His horn was probably about 5 foot long. I was actually filming myself during COVID a photographic workshop for Sony Alpha in order to create some content for them and to get out of the house and just be in nature rather than being locked down in a house. And while I was going through this whole photographic tuition, this rhino was relaxed. He was with me for half an hour plus. I was photographing him moving around, and at one point I hit reverse and his entire demeanor changed. He just suddenly saw me as something that was a good thing to chase, and I have no road, dodging trees, dodging holes, and I've got a rhino with a massive horn on the front of him chasing me, which eventually I had to head off, and there was nowhere to go. I'd run out of space, so I had to stop. He chased me for probably close on a kilometer, maybe 800 meters, which is again unusual. Most charges like that will end pretty quickly. They'll enforce their dominance, they win, move off. In this case, he just kept coming. He was on my hood the whole time. So if I turned the side, he would just hit me from the side and he would have rolled that vehicle. There would have been huge problems. Life would have been not so much fun living, and almost $100,000 worth of camera gear would have also been hurt in the process. So I slammed on brakes and then started to whistle and go, "Futsek!" And futsek is a very South African word that means go away in a much harsher sense. And then I started pushing him back. So I changed gear and I started pushing him. Now he was on the back foot because now he's not got the side and I'm not running. And eventually there was just enough space for me to rocket off and round him and get away. But he still kept coming. I had got far enough away that I had time to do all of this, but he followed me for a good 2-3 miles after that, just seeing if there was another chance that he could play it. It was almost like a game, except with a 2.5 ton animal. I was alone, so yes, if something goes wrong, I'm really alone because it's COVID. There's no one else at the lodge. Loud noises generally scare these things off, which is funny because the first thing I did was hit the side of my vehicle, and 99.9 times out of 100, that'll stop an animal. Just that sound, because it's so foreign, it's metal being banged, it's not normal for them.
Somehow Richard was able to escape this situation unscathed, but he believes that the poaching crisis was the reason why the rhino reacted so badly.
So we're cutting off their horns, and there's all this extra pressure that's being put on them that I think in some way has started to change that calm as a Hindu cow up to I'm gonna get aggressive if I see you come close enough. And just as you go through anything, as a safari guide or as a photographer, the number one thing you have to understand is animal behavior. If you can predict what the animal is going to do next, as a safari guide, you'll put your guests in the best position to see what they're going to see. Nature is a beautiful place. The more you respect it, the more it respects you. The more space you give it, the more it will show you.